Are you planning your first outdoor event? Great, but if you're staring at a blank field wondering where everything goes, you're not alone. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to design your first outdoor site plan step by step. Let's make sure your event feels pro, even if it's your first time. Hi there, it's Mark from OnePlan, and I want to show you why site planning matters for an event. Oh, but why can't I just sketch it out or use a spreadsheet? Well, for this reason. Outdoor events lack infrastructure. You're building a temporary venue from scratch. A strong site plan improves safety, attendee experience, operations and communication. It also helps you to avoid common issues, such as bottlenecks at entry points, confused vendors, or blocked access for emergency services. All the things you want to try and avoid. Your site plan is the foundation for everything else. Safety, success, and frankly, your own sanity. OnePlan is a great tool for site planning. But before you jump in and open it, just ask yourself the following questions. Make a list so you're ready to start drawing your site plan. Number 1, be clear about what type of event you are running. Is it a music festival, some sort of charity run, or a food fair? Number 2, who is attending? Is it families, teenagers, athletes, VIPs? Perhaps a mix of all of these, but understanding who the audience is really key to designing a site that is useful for them. Number 3, what are the entry and exit points? You need to think about how people are going to get to the site and how they're going to leave, especially in an emergency. Number 4, think about what facilities are essential. Toilets, water, medical, staff rest zones, all of these will be different for different events. And number 5, who else is involved? Is it vendors, security, emergency services? Make sure that you've got a list of stakeholders. Now, good planning starts before the map. Knowing what the event's needs are before anything else is really important. It's really worth taking the time to list down all the things that you plan to include on your site before you start. This will help you create the plan. If you haven't already, log into OnePlan and let's start to create our site plan. To do this, you can use OnePlan's object library to drop and drag things quickly onto the plan. First of all, start with boundaries and access points. So let's get drawing fencing, gates and roads. All of these can be drawn very simply using the tools found on the left-hand side of the OnePlan interface. Next, we want to think about our core infrastructure. So let's think about things like stages or any other entertainment, our food vendors, toilets and other welfare facilities, seating or standing zones, and entrances and emergency exits. Now with this last one, if you're unsure, it's worth seeking professional help before you start planning to ensure you meet the legal requirements of the country or state that you're working in, as this can vary. It's really important to understand this as it's an important part of your site design. Next, think about checking walking distances. So this might be from car parks to your entrances or from one stage to another. And OnePlan has a handy line tool to do this, and it will give you the distance that the people will travel. Think about using zones to separate areas. So public, VIP, staff. This can be particularly useful for calculating the capacity of areas or for things like accreditation control. You want to think about how people will move around the site. Map this out, particularly during peak times during your event. My advice would be to start broad, layer in the detail as you go. Always think about these zones and the flow of people around the site. Try to avoid tight corners and narrow thoroughfares, particularly in routes between main attractions. Don't forget about safety, staff and suppliers. This is where first-time planners often drop the ball. And again, I encourage you to check local requirements and seek professional advice if you're unsure. Most local governments or industry associations have guidance documents on this. One good example of this is the Purple Guide here in the UK. This will help you to meet legal requirements for your site. But of course, what I've told you already is by no means a complete list. You know your own site, but it's important to remember with things like toilets, make sure that you've got enough, make sure they're accessible, and make sure they're well lit, particularly if your event takes place at night time for obvious reasons. Medical points should be visible and reachable. A good place to put these is close to entrances. Think about security locations, so on your entrance gates where the crowds move, and around some of the vendors such as bars. Think about power and water, particularly if you're bringing it onto a greenfield site, so you need to think about where generators are located, where cables will run, and where you'll put things like water tanks. Think about staff rest zones. These will be welfare areas that your staff will need to go somewhere to be able to rest away from the public. Think about backstage and production access. How will artists access the site? It's important to remember that site plans aren't a one-person document. They're your communication tool. Think about how will you share your plan with vendors, councils, security teams, so they can feed back during the planning process. One of the great things about OnePlan is it allows you to share your plan in a wider community for feedback. You can also export your plan as a PNG or a CSV resource list. And this makes it really easy to review with your team, the emergency services, and any other local government groups such as safety advisory groups. Getting this feedback is really important. You don't want to wait until build week to act upon it. One thing I would definitely recommend is walking the site with your plan in hand. See how everything feels in the environment you plan to build it in. Make weather or emergency plans. In some countries, these are becoming legal requirements for events, so make sure that your site plan supports any emergency plans. For example, think about where people would go in an emergency evacuation. Your site plan is a living document. Regularly review, revise, and refine it. If you're planning your first outdoor event, your site plan is your blueprint. It brings your vision to life and stops chaos before it starts. We've covered why site plans matter, what to think about before you open any mapping software, and how to use tools like OnePlan to create clear, safe, and scalable layouts. Just remember, you don't need to be a designer or a logistics pro, you just need a clear plan and the right tool. If you found this helpful, you'll hopefully find this next video also helpful as you start to build your event plan. And if you want to try OnePlan yourself, there's a free version linked below. Don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment with the kind of event that you're planning. And if you get stuck, ask me anything. I'll see you in the next video.